While I have been spending most of my time on the test server in test 9.3 in the new light tanks that have been added to the game, I've also been spending a little bit of time testing out stuff that's been in the game for a while, but I just don't have it yet. In this example, the Object 261. Now, the last time I played this would have been at least 2 years ago during a test iteration way back, and I was really quite bad at the game, let alone arty back then. So now, having a little more experience on arcing shells, thanks to my 304, I decided to give the 261 another spin. And I was pretty pleasantly surprised with it, actually, since my experiences with Tier 10 arty on test have generally been kind of hit and miss. This is one arty I genuinely do like. The only real problems are the low arc, and, well, that's it really, the low arc. Otherwise it's quite good. So we got a willing customer straight off the bat here. There's no way I'm going to refuse a target like that. And a beautiful hit, 1701. Couldn't really ask for much better than that. He gets cleaned up by our STB. Of all the high tier arty, the 261 has very good aim time, good accuracy, good shell velocity, but the reason that it has good shell velocity is because it has low arc. You can have either arc or shells that arrive in a hurry. You can't have both. And so it's very good at shooting distant targets over flat ground, but the moment you introduce a hill or the target turns face onto you, you're in trouble. Now in the case of the JPE, face on is good because that's where his engine deck is, but on traditional tanks it's a problem. As you can see, the little slight berm the Leopard's behind is enough to mess up my shot until he reverses out. Unfortunately, I miss. Although I do play the 304 a bit for shits and giggles, I'm not a really experienced arty player, so I can't always accurately predict exactly where a puppy's going to move their tank, or get the shell arc right, or position myself to really get good shots. In this case though, this Foch is just asking for it, and I reload right in time to put a shell his way, and finish him off. I wanted to get the STB next, so I was hoping my team would spot him while I reload. The T49 isn't really something I want to waste a tier 10 arty shell on, since it should be easily killable by our own lights and the medium on the hill. STB reappears, and so I go for a shot. Unfortunately, it goes wide, but it still tracks him, and so the T44 is able to get around behind him and then get some shots. Now this kind of situation where a tank is giving you a broadside target is actually really good in the 261. Unfortunately, you kind of need somebody to be spotting your target, or some indication of where they are. I went for a blind shot, it didn't connect. I don't think it even landed near him. I decide to take a look at the south for a moment, but the tiger gets relit. If he stays there and keeps heading towards the Rex, he's an easy target. All I need is for him to stay relatively still and stay lit. Splat. That's why you don't present a broadside target to a 261. Next I focus south to help our STB out with this IS-4. The STB is a very good medium, probably the strongest of the tier 10 mediums in a general sense. It has good flexibility, it's got good mobility, good gun depression, a passable turret, good view range. Really there's not much bad about it. But even for it, the IS-4 is a serious problem. It's still one of the best armoured tanks in the game. so I offer a little help where I can. Yeah, me T92 finds our 183, and my shell goes wide. 3 of our 4 Arty shoot at the IS-4, myself included, but all we succeed in doing is tracking him. That's enough though, because now he's surrounded. Unfortunately, that meant that I wasn't loaded to get this thing as it charged broadside down the hill. The other problem being I don't know the shell velocity on the 261 well enough to really take moving shots at people, although I did there anyway, just in case. T92 obviously knows his RD piece better, and was able to hit that shot. With the STB now at a position where he can head into the enemy base and spot their RD, I prepare a shot in the likely positions. Just looking for clumps of bushes really, they're usually where Arty head to. And choosing the one closest to the STB, so as soon as he lights something I'm ready. I can move my aim as he moves. Unfortunately, the other disadvantage actually, which I failed to mention at the start of the game, is that 261 has extremely narrow shot arc. You have to traverse on your tracks if you want to aim even slightly to the side. It's kind of compensated for by its good aim time, but not quite. It would be nice to have a wider shot arc, or less track bloom, but I'll take what I can get. In comparison to a lot of the other tier 10 Arty, it's actually quite tame. So I'm going for a shot on the E100 here, trying to predict his movement, although he keeps driving backwards and forwards. I guess he's jockeying for a shot. I don't know if he's deliberately trying to avoid being Arty'd or not. Either way, I splash him for a tiny bit of damage, and then he gets unspotted. At this point, we're down to a one-shottable medium, and then our 4 Arty. Now, here's where I make a mistake. Our 140 went up to spot. I thought our 140 was going to stop in E8, and I thought the E100 would reasonably stay in the depression west of the 6 line. I was wrong. Our 140 actually pushed all the way up and met the E100 in the middle, which you'll see in a minute. So I was aiming way past where that E100 was going to pop up. There he is. I take a quick shot without really aiming it and get lucky. I will certainly take that. The rest of our Arty were ready as well, and so he gets cleaned up. Unfortunately, so does our 140. And now it's an Arty battle. Being in a 261, and therefore probably the best suited to shotgunning, I decide to head to the hill. Now, I had AP loaded because I'd actually run out of gold rounds at this point, and I didn't really want to put up with another reload. Again, I have no clue what I'm doing in high tier Arty, so if I shouldn't be carrying any AP whatsoever, or if I should be carrying more of it, or so on and so forth, not my problem. I'll learn one day. My logic was that, I mean, if I hit an enemy Arty with AP, it's going to pen regardless and probably do enough to kill it, but I didn't really think if I narrowly miss an enemy Arty, it's not going to do me any favours. We still have 2 Arties set to shoot, and 2 scouting now. Myself and the other 261. My idea was to get to a firing position at the top of the hill and then fire down towards their usual Artie spots. Unfortunately, the enemy 261 had the exact same idea, because in just a moment he will get lit right next to me. Right there. It took me a little while to notice, and what happened next was a good example of why I'm so inexperienced at high tier Artie. I took a bad shotgun there, it completely missed. I should have taken my time, since I knew he was on reload. And then I drove up to him. Now, I knew he'd fired first, so I knew he would reload before me. I don't know what logic propelled me into driving up to the house he was using as cover. I knew he would just bulldoze through it and shotgun me as soon as he's loaded. And maybe 1-2 seconds before I'm actually reloaded, and as I'm turning to face him, he gets a shot off. I'm just going to hit the time acceleration here because Artie versus Artie battles aren't particularly fun to watch. Either way, the 261 is probably my favourite. Well, not probably, it is my favourite of the tier 10 Artie. The others are a little too unpredictable for my liking, and the reloads are too long. The 261 is just, it's still hard hitting, but it's fast and it's accurate, which I like. The M53-55 is probably my favourite tier 9 on account of being so blatantly overpowered. I hope Wargaming look at that in the near future, because it really needs to have something done to it, other than the T92 being buffed. Let's see, other than that, I haven't really played any of the mid-tier Artie for a while. Really, the only one I've played in the longest time is the FE304, and then many iterations of test in the past. I played I think a couple in the 4043, and I used to play the 212 before it was split off. Back when it was still, what, I think a tier 7 Artie or something. Back when there was only 8 tiers of Artie, that's when I last played the 212, so it was a long time ago. But, I mean, Artie can be pretty frustrating to play. The match after this one, I ended up on Mountain Pass, where you really have to work for your shots in a 261. You just don't have the arc, especially from South Spawn, to get over the mountains. But I mean, if you actually know what you're doing and know which positions to shoot from, which again I do not, then you probably end up doing a lot better. If you know how to arc your shells even, I mean, it doesn't take much. You just have to know where to click on an enemy tank, and you can pretty easily rack up 3-4k damage on a nice open map like this. On the more urban maps, obviously, you run into problems, but I guess that's just the way it is when you play Artie. Got a couple more videos from 9.3 coming, so if you enjoyed this, stay tuned, there will be more coming. Thanks for watching as ever, and good luck on the field.